Hey everyone, and welcome to another Fundamentals of Science video. My name is Daniel. I work at the Seattle Children's Museum, and today we're going to be making some hand helicopters. Now, a hand helicopter is something that kind of looks like this. It's a little helicopter made out of paper. And while real helicopters spin their blades and fly up in the air, we actually saw some helicopters flying around in Seattle today. While they usually spin their blades and move up into the air, these helicopters will actually slow themselves down and spin their blades as they fall. We're going to be making two helicopters today. We're going to be making one that's a little lighter, it has a little less mass, and one that's a little heavier and it has a little more mass. But first, we're going to talk about something called air resistance. What I want you to do at home is take your hands and start waving them back and forth, like I am right now. Can you feel any air between your hands? Can you feel the air being buffeted back and forth? It's almost like we're clapping, but not ever letting our hands connect together. We can feel the air around our hands. That is the air, and what you're experiencing as it gets harder and harder to flap your hands, that is called air resistance. And we can actually look and see air resistance with a couple things. So one thing you'll need to do this part of our experiment is you're going to need to grab 2 coffee filters from your house, or you can do this with 2 pieces of paper if you don't have coffee filters. You're going to take one coffee filter and you're going to leave it exactly as it is. You're going to take the other coffee filter and you're going to crush it up into a tiny little ball. You're going to get it and squeeze it down so tight until it's about the size of a marble, like I have mine here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take both of them, we're going to hold them above our table about this high, and we're going to let them drop. I'll do that again so you can see what happened. We're going to hold them both, and we're going to let them drop. Now, of my two, my open coffee filter and my marble-sized coffee filter, which one hit the table first? It was my crushed up marble-sized coffee filter, because even though they're exactly the same and weigh the same, they're different sizes. The larger one experienced a lot more air resistance as it fell toward the table, while the smaller one drops right away to the table because it's not spread out and open, so it just falls. If we dropped these both off a super, super tall building and assumed there was no wind that day, they would eventually both reach the same speed and hit the ground at the same time. They'd reach something called terminal velocity, or the speed at which everything falls. But since we're not dropping them off a skyscraper, we can see that the one that's bigger experiences more air resistance and will slowly hit the ground. So we're going to build some hand helicopters so we can really test this principle out. So what you're going to need is our hand helicopter templates. You can find these in the link in the description or on our social media pages. You're going to need a pair of scissors. I'm using a large pair of scissors, but you'll probably have a smaller pair of scissors that'll be better suited for your hands at home. Some tape. I have 2 colors of tape so that we can see the difference between our 2 hand helicopters as they're falling. And a paper clip. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm holding a paper clip here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by grabbing one of our hand helicopter templates and cutting it out. When we're cutting out our hand helicopter templates, we only want to cut on the black lines. We don't want to cut any of the dotted lines. So we'll start by cutting out just the main rectangular part. cut out our main rectangular part. Then what we're going to want to do is cut right down the middle between A and B, stopping at the dotted line right here. So that we almost end up with two bunny ears. These will eventually become our propellers. Then what we're going to want to do is cut these black lines right here next to C and D, cutting only the dark black line, making two little flaps on the bottom. So when you're all done cutting, you should have something that looks kind of like this, with two flaps on top like this, and two flaps on the bottom like this. Then what we're going to do is we're going to take our C flap, and we're going to fold it in toward the middle. Then we're going to take our D flap and fold it in toward the middle. Then we're going to take the very bottom of our helicopter and fold it up and tape it down. For this one, we're going to use our purple tape. I'm going to fold the bottom up and tape it down. Then we're going to fold our flaps down on one side for B and down on the other side for A. So when you're done, you'll have one flap here, and a taped together bottom like this. It should almost look like a letter Y when you hold it like this. And that's going to be your first hand helicopter. For our second hand helicopter, we're going to follow all the same steps. So let's go through them again together. We're going to take our piece of paper. We're going to cut out our rectangular part, cutting all four sides of our rectangle. We're going to cut between A and B, making our bunny ears on top, our propellers of our helicopter. Then we're going to cut the little lines on the top of C and D, making that same shape as before, a rectangle with a split at the top and two little flaps on the bottom. Then we're going to fold again. We're going to take C and fold it in. And we're going to take D and fold it right on top of that. We're going to take the bottom and fold it up just a little bit, and we're going to add some tape. For this one, I'm going to use some orange tape so we can tell that it's going to be different from our purple one. So here we have some orange tape. We can tell that it's different from our purple. Then we're going to fold B down on one side and A down on the other side. So now we have a helicopter, when we open our flaps back up, that's exactly the same as our purple helicopter. But we're going to add one more thing. Our paper clip from before. We're going to take our paper clip and we're going to put it right on the bottom of our helicopter right here like this. We're going to take it and put it right over our tape, making one helicopter heavier than the other helicopter. Now let's take them outside and see which one falls faster. All right, we've made it outside, and now we're going to see, we're up on the balcony at my house, and we're going to see which one of our helicopters will hit the ground first. Do you think it's going to be our orange helicopter with our paperclip with the more mass, or do you think it's going to be our purple helicopter with less mass? So let's see which one will hit the ground first. Nope, it looks like they both went under the balcony, but I assume our camera on the ground can show us exactly where they landed. Now that we're back inside, which one fell faster? Was it our one with no paperclip, our one with a little less mass, or our one with a paperclip, our one with a little more mass? It was our one with more mass. If we wanted them to fall at the same speed and hit the ground at exactly the same time, we would need to make our blades bigger on our paperclip one, because since it's heavier, it has more mass, it's going to need bigger blades to make it fall slower. Or if I added even more weight to this one, it would fall even faster because there'd be no resistance at all. The blades would be falling so fast that they'd just swing straight like this, and it would just fall right to the ground. So you can take your hand helicopter at home and start changing it, modify it. You could change the shape of the blades. You could add more weight or less weight. You could change the tape. You could change all kinds of things with your hand helicopter. Science is all about changing variables and writing down our results and learning from our changes, doing experiments. So go download some more of the hand helicopters templates and keep learning and make the best hand helicopter you can. I have been Daniel from the Seattle Children's Museum. Thank you so much for learning about air resistance and hand helicopters with me today. Thanks.